Yeah, it's a hot day. I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down. Yeah, it's a hot day. Won't you come on over? We can party till the sun's down. Baby, let me buy you a drink while we're dancing a blink. I could go for some Queen Bee too. Macy's going boom boom. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over, we can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide. Surfing on a wave of good feelings. Well, it's just another Friday in paradise. So bring your A game, cause you know this party won't stop. We could never run out of time, sipping strawberry lime. You know I wanna share it with you. Macy's going boom boom. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over, we can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide. It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Got that DJ playing music, everybody wants to hear it. It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Everybody wants a ride in the water slide. 3, 4. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over, we can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide. Water slide.
Oh, I nearly forgot to turn the microphone on. Morning, everyone. Welcome to our usual Friday show, which is Saturday here in Australia. Bit wet one today. We've had some good rain, which is good because we always need the rain. I'm back to the alcohol. So what am I drinking today? But the funny thing is, this must be a faulty bottle, this one, because it's the same as this one. So it's vodka, but it's called Fruit Tingler, and I think this one must be just different fruits. Unique flavors that hurt so good, it says. Oh, yes. So, but I noticed this one doesn't have that front on it, which is interesting. So it is our grand final day today. We've got Richmond versus the Cats. Anthony's saying it's a bit early, but it's grand final day. It is. It's our grand final day today, which is, I suppose, like your Super Bowl and stuff like that in the US or the Premier League. You know, it's the major game of the year. So it's 7:30 tonight is our game. So we're really looking forward to it. So cheers, everyone. I'll taste this just to see what it's like. That's not bad, actually. It says on the back there that it hurts so good. I've a couple of these. Funny thing is, Kerry's inside the house today. She's putting some furniture together, flat pack. So I might have to spend the whole day with you so I don't have to help. I hope she's not listening. I can't stand flat pack. If I see anything that's flat pack, I run out of the room and just disappear because I can't stand it. Oh my God. I prefer to be drinking this vodka and than doing anything other than doing flat pack. Oh, this is all right. I've got 2 here. Oh my God, I'll be in trouble. If I get to the second one, I'm going to be in real trouble. Oh boy, here we go. I'll leave it over here for the moment. So how are we all? Good to be back. I had a really good show with, what are you saying, slabs of flour packs? What does that mean, Anthony? Let me go to the chat just to see who's here. So we've got Dana here from Florida. I know it's only, 10 o'clock in the morning and I'm drinking vodka. Oh, I love it. Carl said it's showtime. Rob's here as well. He took his message off for some reason. Hi from Ontario. Asuniam, I think it is. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Hi from Paris. Is the 200 Sigma real? Well, it's only rumours, but I'll talk about that as one of the stories today. Steve's here as well. Chris said, hello, David. Nice day in Los Angeles. Good day for a Miller Lite. Cheers. Yeah, I'm stuck in with the vodka. Glad you could make it. Anthony is saying, g'day, Bacchus. Wet this morning. Yeah, it's really wet. We had a lot of rain overnight, which is really good. Adam Master said, vodka, my favourite. Barry Street said, g'day, David. Anthony said, slabs of flour pack. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, flat. Yeah. Duraz said, sup, David. Greetings from Poland. How are you, mate? Prasant's here from the UK as well. Anthony, I'm not a touch typist, I see. And Alex said, hola from Mexico. Oh, I'm having another bit of this. This is all right. Bit better than drinking the Milo. Oh, God. Steve said, lots of homebrew in the cupboard for the match tonight. Yeah, look, it's a massive thing here in Australia, guys. Like I said, it's like your Super Bowl. Normally, it's during the day here at the MCG, which is a famous cricket ground here. But due to the COVID, we've had it's sent up north for the first time in our history. It's actually gone to Queensland. So we haven't got the game down here today, so it's going to be on tonight. Because we've had viruses sort of in Melbourne, they haven't been able to open up here in Melbourne at all with crowds or anything, so they're sending it up to Queensland, so we're going to have to watch it on TV. So it's usually we get 100,000 people. The MCG holds 100,000 and usually it's full for it always is. It's always full for the grand final. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game from Queensland. The maximum they can get into their crowd, I think, is 30,000 up there. But at least there'll be an audience. If it was down here, there'd be none. So, but it's going to be different than seeing, 100,000 sort of football supporters down here watching it. So that's a pity, but hopefully it'll be a good match. So I'm looking forward to that tonight. Everyone will be having parties and stuff tonight, I would say. So we got some interesting things. I'm going to start today talking about, I didn't even put the timer on. I wonder how long we've been on. I'll just find it. I'll just go over it afterwards and just do it that way. So I've got some interesting rumours that we can go through, some news and stuff like that. How's is also saying cricket or any sport there the audience, how do players stay motivated? Yeah, it's pretty tough. I'm a big Premier League follower as well. And just watching my team's Liverpool and just watching that without the crowd is just not the same. And it must be really hard for the players, I would say. Really hard for the players. But, what do you do about it? You've just got to do what you can do and sort of do it that way. So there's nothing you can do about it. Yes, I've got really interesting things today. Someone said he supports Arsenal. I'm a Liverpool supporter, so we've had a good run the last year or so. So let's get started on the show anyway, and then we'll get stuck into everything. Welcome everyone, back for our usual show. So I'm just laughing down here. Ben said cricket is a natural thing. We love cricket here, Ben. It's a massive sport here in Australia and also England. Lots of countries support cricket. Oh, I've got this to show you too. So I've bought this thing. Well, I haven't bought it, I got it. But the new Sony microphone. So it's been sent to me. So I've got to review this and just check how it actually is. I'm looking forward to trying it out on the A7S III. So I'll be trying that out in the coming days. So stay tuned for that. Digital microphone. So it looks like it's going to be pretty good. I've just done a couple of quick tests and it seems like it works out really good audio actually. So stay tuned for that in the coming days. I'll let you know how it is. Oops, keep banging the microphone. Drinking vodka with you today. So cheers if you are having a drink with me today. This is well, I can't show you the front because this one hasn't got the label. What I'm drinking is a vodka fruit tingler, I think it's called. Yep, fruit tingler. 4.6% alcohol. Not bad. So if I drink a couple of them, I'll have 8 and I'll be dancing on top of this table. So today we've got some interesting stories to go through with you. I mean, the rumours at this stage, but I wanted to start today talking about how I went with the A7S III, because I did a shoot. Now, if you haven't seen it, watch the previous video that I just put up because it will take you through the whole shoot that I'm going to show you some images from in a minute, because I just wanted to talk about how it went. I am going to do a full review of the A7S III. I've still got to do, say, night, focusing in night and do some tests and that sort of stuff at this stage. So I have now done I've given it a real good go in doing video, and now I've given it a real good go in doing stills for a shoot during the day. And I did that. Someone's just saying, still waiting for your dance on the table. I've now got a really good idea how this will perform, particularly in weddings apart from low light. So that's something that I've still got to test in the coming days. But boy, I'm so excited about how it works. Let me just take you through some of these images. Let me just see. Can I just open them up and scroll through? Yes, I can. All right. So let me just reduce these down and then I'll share them with you. Let me go over here and then let me go there and then let me blow these up. So like I said, if you do want to see the whole shoot of these, check out the previous video that I've just done before this. So it's the one before this and you'll see the whole shoot being done. So you'll be able to sort of see how I did it and how I directed Anya and things like that. Anya's a lovely young model. She's building a model portfolio. She's also an elite dancer. So she's very confident in what she does, and that shows in the video that she's done through this as well. But I tested the tracking here, like she was walking towards me, and I did multiple things like that where I was testing the tracking to see how it went. Now these are basically just straight out of camera JPEGs, and the funny thing was I looked at the raw files. I should do a comparison of that when I do the review, but I looked at the raw files and then I opened up the JPEG and I thought, wow, I just want to work from the JPEGs because the JPEGs are just outstanding with this camera. This was with the 135mm and it's just such a beautiful lens. I mean, it really is. I only used 2 lenses on the day. I used the 135 and the 24mm 1.4. This was moving up close. So it was the same location as here, but I just moved in nice and close. And like I said, there's been no editing done or anything here. So you're just looking at basically the raw images just straight out of camera. Like I said, if you want to check out the video, check that out as well. This was using the 24mm. So I wanted to check how the 24 went as well. And, you know, like I said, I was surprised how sharp it is from 12 megapixels. Like I said, I could easily go up to 20 by 30 inches printing out these images. And, you know, that's more than ample for anything I would do for weddings particularly. Again, this one has been edited though. So this was one that I did do a slight amount of editing in there. You can see that's the original there. So I've gone from that to that. So I have cropped in this case. I wanted to make it square because I wanted to share it on Instagram. And for that type of thing, there's ample resolution that you'd sort of want to use, and there's not an issue doing it that way at all. Again, this one was Anya just walking towards me, and I asked her to stop and just move the legs sort of crossing each other because I really like that pose. The results, the skin tones, and everything about the A7S III, it's the best looking images that I've ever got directly out of camera. And I can say it's by far now my favorite camera for looking at stills. It really is that good. And I can't tell you how amazing it is. In fact, I love my A9, but I'm going to have trouble putting this down. I really am going to have trouble not using it because it is just that good. Again, this is using the 135. That's also the 135mm as well. This was using the 24, and I wanted, Anya and I explained this in the video, that I wanted it to sort of bring her head forward. Because the lens is so wide, I wanted her to move forward, and I was sort of trying to teach her how you move your head forward so that the head doesn't look small if it's pointing backwards, and you'll see that if you look at the video as well. This was another one with the 135 that I just wanted to sort of, shoot through some trees and branches, and again, this is explained how I did this as well. That was a close-up still from the 135 from the same location. This was another one where she was just looking at some flowers and things like that. And that was then going in closer. All of these were with the 135. This is another one on the 135 where she's just walking down by the lavender. And again, there's some here where she's looking at some flowers. And then I did a close-up result here. And you can just see the skin tones. I've done a test between the A7 III and the A7S III, and if you want to check that, it's a few videos back. The skin tones particularly are way nicer in the A7S III. They really have improved the color dramatically, and I say it is dramatic, particularly if you see it on my computer screen. YouTube may not show it as much, but it's beautiful what it's done. I then wanted to try some backlighting because this was heavily backlit. And again, if you look at the video, you'll see how this was done. It's really heavily backlit. And I wanted to see how it focused and everything else. And it was really outstanding. There was no issue at all with the tracking and following her. And I just wanted to try a black and white one here that we could look at too, just converting it to black and white. I'm really happy with how these worked out. I know the background has been blown, but I was doing this exercise was to use it without a flash. So I could have used a flash here. I did take one actually. I took my Profoto B10, but I decided not to use it. I thought I'd just try and use daylight for the whole day. So here, if I used a flash, I could have exposed for the background ambient and showed that in there. And then lit her, because she would have been dark, with the flash. But I just wanted to work from daylight here, and I'm really happy with the results, actually. I love that blown out look in the background and just keeping her looking nice. Again, these are more or less straight JPEGs. This one is just a straight JPEG, but just converted to black and white. And I just added a fraction of contrast in it. This was another one where I like to go against the tree, and it's showing the beautiful color range that you're getting in these JPEGs, the greens and the oranges on the tree here, and it's still maintaining a lovely skin tone, which is beautiful. This is all on auto white balance. So I did this whole shoot on auto white balance, apart from the test that I did with the A7 III. Again, it's just showing here some... now, it's quite challenging too, because these areas had an incredible green cast over the whole of the area. And you can see the greens in the background because it was full on with the trees hanging over her. And yet it's maintained her skin tones beautifully through the whole lot. This was another one where it was very, very green, and it could have potentially had a really bad green cast on Anya's skin. And you can see how it's held the skin up beautifully just using auto white balance. So I haven't changed anything in the white balance on these images at all. And it's just... I'm really so amazed. Now, where's the mouse gone? I'm really so amazed with how, these images have looked. There's only a couple more to go. I'll show you them. This was a close-up one. Again, the skin tones are beautiful. The eye sharpness is amazing. Again, this is with some flowers, and you can again see how there's no green skin issues here. Tones, coming into the skin. And this was one where she actually wanted to do this. She said, "I want to sit inside that." I didn't even film this, but I showed it. She wanted to sit inside this little doorway of this, like it's an old caravan that they must have used years ago for something, probably a shearer's thing or something. And then lastly, where she's sitting on the grass, just with all of these little flowers sitting down, I just asked her to look at the image that way. Again, close up of the same area, and then it's just sitting in a field here as well with some flowers as well. But I'm so happy with this thing. Like, I can't believe how beautiful the images look from this. This is the rig that I used on the day, actually. I do rig it up now in a small rig cage and with a small rig handle. I suppose if you want to travel minimal, you may want to take the cage off and then carry it around like that. But I like just having it ready in case if I do want to stick a monitor on and use it for video or do anything else. Plus, it protects it too, so that's one good aspect of it. And I find I like to now hold the handle and the camera together, and it's just a nice way of, of using it. But I have to say that I have never used a camera that has given me JPEGs like it has on this. Perhaps the only thing that I will change is I was using the standard profile for the stills. I may reduce the sharpening a little bit because it is very, very sharp. I mean, very sharp. So I might reduce it down to -2 or -3 in the sharpening of the images, because I can always add a little bit back in post if I want to a little bit later on. So I may just go into the standard profile and drop that standard sharpening down just a little bit, because it is so sharp. I mean, it is nuts how sharp this camera is. But color, amazing. The autofocus is incredible. It really is good. The auto white balance is the best that I've ever used in any Sony camera, any camera actually, in fact. It nailed it in every single shot in very, very challenging conditions where she really could have had green that was sort of coming into her skin, and we've all seen that before when you go underneath a massive green canopy, and, you get that green that reflects on the skin. Well, I had none of that either. So the auto white balance is particularly fantastic. The tracking is just unreal. I mean, it may not be quite as good as my A9, but boy, they're now starting to get close. And in fact, I'm probably thinking I might now use this as my main camera with my A9 when I'm doing weddings. I'm quite comfortable with shooting at 12 megapixels. Initially, I was a bit hesitant, but then when I went back and looked at the work that I used to do in my D3S and everything else when I shot weddings, 12 megapixels is ample, and you can print up to 20 by 30 inches with a 12 megapixel file. That is more than ample for what I do. In fact, the way that I work is I give my brides an 8 by 12 resolution file. It's in my contracts that if they go any bigger than that, they have to come back through me. So I'm covered anyway. 8 by 12 from that will be unbelievable. The results will be outstanding. And then if they did want to shoot a really massive image, well, I know I can go up to 20 by 30. If I need then to increase resolution, well, I can use something like gigapixel to increase the resolution. And I have done that before. And in fact, it works very, very well now. So that's probably how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to use, if I'm not shooting video, I'm going to use the A7S III as one of my major still cameras. It is that good. And I probably will just use JPEG straight out of the camera. It's just unbelievable. And I'm dying to try the HEIF format. I know now Sony has a utility where you can convert them back to JPEG and to TIFF, I think, or RAW, it might be, I'm not sure. But the HEIF is actually 10-bit 422. So and the compression is better as well. So if Lightroom eventually supports it, and I'm hoping it does, I'm dying to see how the HEIF format performs, because you should, you will get better dynamic range, better colors and things like that. So I'm dying to try that to see what we can get out of the A7S III when we look at those sort of formats. So overall, can't be happier. Check out the video that I just did yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I'd love the support anyway. Check that video out, because I've done the full shoot. It goes for 20 minutes and it really is detailed, and it's no music in it or anything like that. It's just me talking to Anya. So if you don't like the videos where it's just put to music, check that out, because there's no music in this at all. It's actually just me going through the shoot as anyone else would, and you might find it interesting to see how I did it. Yeah, you should. Shame that you got the kangaroo in the background. There was a kangaroo there, yeah, in the thing yesterday. It was really cool, actually. It was great. You'll see it actually in the shoot. I did a still of it because it was just watching us, and then it actually jumped away in the background. Let me just check back here before we go on to other news stories. Yeah, cricket is an actual thing, Ben. Yeah, it's it's very, very popular here. Phil's saying hello from Washington. Japan's saying just in time. Melvin is saying still waiting for you to dance on the table. Please do an astrophotography video. Well, I don't really do astrophotography, Haas. So, I mean, whether I get the chance or not, I think astrophotography is more popular in winter, isn't it? Due to the the sort of effects in the atmosphere. So maybe not the right time here now. Camera is ridiculous. I love that A7S. I do too, 95. I absolutely love it. Axman said, I want to live in that house. I know it's beautiful there. You need an extra flat pack if you dance on the table. I just said before, I was just lazily saying about flat pack. Kerry's inside doing flat pack at the moment. She's putting together some furniture. Poor Kerry. EVF, yes. EVF is outstanding in it. When you look through that EVF, you just go, wow. Seriously, for stills, when you take and you take the still and then you look through the EVF, it is just incredible how good that is. I mean, remember, you're looking at the JPEG anyway. So it's stunning. But even the EVF at the back has been improved too. I thought it was exactly the same. It probably is, but they've done some tweaking to it. It's certainly better than what the other cameras out there, like my A9 or the A7 III is. So they have improved the flip out screen as well, which is also a great thing as well. No, they're not edited. No, Anthony. When I say they're not, they've had the slightest tweak in them. So they basically are straight out of camera that you're looking at. There was only a couple that were edited there. Axman said, shame you couldn't get the kangaroo in the background. Yeah, I know, I wish I could have got it. It does show in the video, though, it hops away. You can see it actually hopping away behind Anya, so you can see it there. Now with only one kidney, but I have to have the A7S III. I love it. The A7 III would have struggled on those backlit. Yeah, it was really backlit. As you could see from those images, it was. And it was no issue at all with tracking, eye autofocus and everything. So it looks like if you're dealing with backlit situations, that it's going to work very, very well. And that was why I wanted to test it, particularly in that scenario. And it nailed the autofocus. It really did. I didn't have one that was out of focus, actually. Joel says the A7 III would have weird lines with those backlit shots. Yeah, that can happen. It depends on the lens, though, as well. Carl said the 135 lens has to be the best rendering I've ever seen. I know, I love it. That 135, seriously, I'd just like to weld it to one of my cameras and never take it off. I'm happy if I can do a whole shoot with the 24mm and the 135. I would just do the shoot with that. In fact, it's interesting because I used to love my 85 and that used to be my go-to lens that I never took off. But now it's always the 135 and the 24mm. I just love those two lenses. I really do. 200 f2, we're going to talk about that. Sony needs a 50mm G Master that renders like the 24 and 135. I'm sure they're going to update a lot of their lenses 95, so it's just a matter of time. You know, we've just got to wait for them to do that. I've got a feeling that the lenses I think that should be improved the most are the 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 should be improved. That now is quite an old lens really, and it should have a Mark II. The 2470 as well, the GM also should be improved. But the 85 1.4 is, I think, desperately needs to improve. Look, it still has a lovely image, but the autofocus is quite slow. It really needs the linear motors like what we've got in the 135. So we're definitely going to see some of these lenses improved over time. And yes, the 50 will be one as well. But I'm hoping that the 85 gets a refresh. Like, I'd love to see an 85 1.2 GM. Rob said, I just found out a friend of mine is at the World Series Game 3 and his son just caught a home run ball. Wow. Okay, it might not be cricket, but it's an American pastime. Matt said, I totally agree. Been waiting for a better 50mm option than the current ones. I love my 55 though. I really still love that, and I still love shooting the 55 on video. There's just something about that I love the rendering that gives, and also it's just so light. Like, it's just such a beautiful lens to stick on a gimbal. That's the other thing about this too. This is great for on a gimbal because it's so nice and light and small. The 55 is also a great compromise between having that portraiture sort of lens and nice and sharp. There is some fringing sometimes, but I find I'm happy with that. But I just love the look and the rendering that gives me. So the 55 is a lens that I love as well. I just don't use it as much as I used to now because I'm so sort of into the 135 and the 24. But if I'm doing video, I will always like to have that as an option that I can use. Good morning, David. Thumbs up. Thank you so much, William. Love it, guys. If you could give me a thumbs up, I really would appreciate that. Rob said, considering the Zeiss 55 1.8. Yep. And look, it is great, Rob. Seriously, I still love the 55 1.8. Farm animals are also in the shooter making noises. Yeah, I know they were. It was geese and everything else that were making noises. It was quite funny. There was kookaburras sort of singing. It was fun, actually. Talk about the 200 f2. I'm out of here. See you, Gregory. Carl, what is a flat pack? Well, Carl, it's when you get furniture and they deliver them and they're sort of flat, so you have to put them together. They come with all the screws and everything else. IKEA, exactly. IKEA is perfect because that's what they do. They come out as flat pack. Kangaroos are friendly. Yep. I mean, look, there has been some people that have been hurt, but they're doing stupid things. 99.9% of the time when you see kangaroos, they'll leave you alone or they'll just hop off. So yes, then they're not an issue. If I trade my A7S for the 135 G Master, what would be a fair trade? You're going to trade your A7S III for a 135 G Master. Would that be a fair trade? I don't know. I wouldn't get rid of either. Leslie said, waiting on the A7 IV, but I heard it will be the end of 2021. Yep, too long. Nivak said, Manny Orders posted a video about preferring the 135 over... Oh, definitely. I would take the 135 over the 85 GM any day. Daniel said, well, haven't watched you in a while. Digging the beard. Thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate that. Nivak said that there are so many good 85 EMAT lenses that the 85 1.4 GM is getting overpriced and less relevant. Yeah. Look, I've used it. I've never had it because I have the Batis, and I love the Batis also because it has stabilization as well. But the thing with the 85 GM that I always found was it was so slow, and I do like to use them in low light, and that's where it often struggles, is in low light. And that's the reason why I never really upgraded to the 85, G Master, because the Batis is pretty good. In fact, the Sony 85 1.8 is also very, very good. I think they're very, very similar lenses. They're probably the same. It's just that they haven't got the stabilization in. But the 85 definitely needs an upgrade. It needs those linear motors that the 135 has. And I'm sure it will happen soon. I'm sure of that. Nevex, I read that one. Leslie said, would love a 24-105 2.8. Yeah, well, there's rumours that could happen. So that would be an amazing lens. It'll be pretty big though, but it certainly would be an amazing lens. It's such a good focal range, like for video or even stills. 24-105 is a great focal range, particularly if you use clear image zoom. It's fantastic. Mavi said, hey David, apologies beforehand if this is a silly off-topic question, but is it possible to use the Series 50 millimeter anamorphic lens on a Sony without anamorphic mode? I don't know, because I've never used a Mavi. I have to be honest, I've never used an anamorphic lens. It's something I'd love to try. I know you could use it if you're using the Ninja, because the Ninja will compensate and you'll see it as you normally would in the Ninja. But I've never done it, so I can't really answer that question. Someone in the chat may be able to, but I've never used them. I'd love Siri or something to contact me and, you know, get me to review a couple of their lenses. I'd love to try some. Just suggest what is better for YouTube's A7S III or Canon C7E. Haven't used the Canon C7E, but I think, you know, you really can't go past the A7S for size alone. I mean, let's face it, if you're dealing with YouTube and stuff, you don't need to be lugging around something that's too big. Rob said that I have the 24-105 f4 and it's my go-to lens. Matt said, how's the autofocus on your 55? It's great. The autofocus is terrific. I've always found it's one of my fastest focusing lenses, even though it is rather old. It's still a great focusing lens. Whether I've got a really good copy, I don't know. Others in the chat may be able to talk about that though. But I've never ever had a trouble with it focusing. In fact, when I'm doing weddings, I often will go to the 55 if I'm having trouble focusing in low light, because that thing will nearly always work in low light. So it's something that I do gravitate to if I'm dealing with low light and I want a decent sort of portrait type lens, because the autofocus is so good on that lens. Dana said, g'day Dana, many of the best vintage lenses are 55, for example, the Mamiya Secor 55 1.4, because it's much easier to make great optics at 55 and 58. And we'll move on in a second. Hopefully the Sony A7 IV will have a bump in resolution to 30 megapixels. I think it will have a bump. I'm pretty certain of that now, particularly seeing that they're saying we're not going to get these cameras till next week. And in fact, I'm going to talk about that in the first story, because there's just some rumors about what people would like. Major said Sony A7R4, but what about the A7 IV? Yeah, well, that's late next year. Phil said, which would you choose, the Sony 135 or the 70-200? I went with the 135. I would definitely choose the 135 over that and get another prime lens down lower. Definitely. I don't use the 70-200 really at all. Kerry loves it. She will use that in the weddings. She uses my 70-200 f4, but I very rarely use zooms apart from the Tamron 28-75. All right, let's go over to the first story here, which we're going to look at, is this one. So it's the speculations. Look, this is only speculations at this stage, but they're talking about an A7R4 that may come in 2022. Now, they're just really saying in here, I think if you look at the timeline, they're also saying this down here. If you look down here, where did I read it? They were saying about an A9 II. Oh yeah, it's, they're saying here, next year we are going to get a new A9 III. And that's probably due to the Olympics. And that sort of makes sense to me. And I've discussed this before, that the A9 II, I think, was a bump. It was only a bump over what the A9 had. And I did review it for a month. I had an A9 II for a month. And I just thought that that wasn't enough camera for me to upgrade to. I just didn't think it just didn't have enough features. I thought the autofocus was exactly the same. The images looked exactly the same. The sensor was basically, well, I think it is the same. If you're a sports photographer and you needed the better networking and stuff like that, yes, I could probably understand it. But for what I shoot, the A9 II was just like a bump up in technology compared to the original A9. So I didn't even consider upgrading it after I had that for a month, because I just thought it's not as much of a bump. Now, an A9 III may be different, so I'm hoping it will be. But they're saying there is going to be an A9 III coming out. and an A7 IV for sure. Now, they're saying the A7 IV will be late in the year. The A9 III, if it's coming out, would have to be before the Olympics, so they would have to be out early in the new year. With the Olympics is July, so they'd have to have enough time for people to get used to it and things like that. So I think if they're going to do an A9 II, it'll probably come out fairly early in the year, first quarter, obviously. And the A7 IV, they're saying now that they're predicting that will come out at the end of next year. But they're just saying in here, and I'd love to know your opinion. Now, obviously, if you're not in the live chat, you can leave them in the comment box down below. But they're saying here, choose your maximum 3 top priorities for the A7 R4. Now, does it let you choose? Oh, yeah, it does. I'll just see if it comes up with the votes, what it says. So it's saying a new 100 megapixel resolution sensor. Keep the current 61 megapixel sensor, but improve the performance. Fovean sensor layer allowing for more true colors, bigger pixels. 8K 30p video recording. New bigger A7 style body. OLED panel on the top of the camera. I'm not really fussed about that. More top dial control similar to the XT4 line. Full touchscreen functions. Well, that's definitely one that you would want. So I'm picking that immediately. At least one stop improved stabilization. Handheld high resolution mode like the one offered by Olympus camera. Oh, that's where the sensor moves, I think. Ultra fast processing that gets rid of buffer issues, cuts loading times. Now, obviously, if you're a sports shooter, that would be important. Use the new faster and a bit more expensive CF Express Type A cards, which probably would help the buffer and everything as well. Support third-party apps like Adobe Lightroom Instant Cloud Backup, 5G support for quick online image transfers. So I'm going to go here. Now, this is talking about the R4, so I'm going to go, because it is the high-resolution camera, so I'm going to go 100 megapixel sensor, probably would be important for me. If it's for video, like the high-end stills, I'm not going to say 8K 30. That's not as important for me at this stage. I'm probably just going to go for at least one stop improved image stabilization, and then I'm going to vote. Let's see what other people have chosen. Oh, interesting. So most people are saying keep the current 61 megapixel resolution but improve the performance. Full touchscreen, yes. I mean, I would be surprised if most people didn't choose that. And also, well, I've got two of them. I chose full touchscreen and also at least one stop of improved image stabilization. So I did choose that one. And the 100 megapixel resolution is a little bit further down the line, actually. The networking 8K recording, you can see, is pretty low. It's just not needed at this stage. I mean, 4K 60, 4K 120 is really all you need for the next few years, I think. So I'm quite comfortable with having that. I mean, if 8K is given to you, well, it's good. You don't have to use it, but I think it's not needed at this stage. So that's interesting. So let us know what you think about this. I'd love to know if you think you're sort of similar to me. Touchscreen, I think, is an obvious one. And I think the touchscreen will be in all the cameras. Or do you believe that being a sports type camera where they may want the ultra reliability and robustness, that they won't put a full, like flip out screen on this? Will it just be a full touch screen that won't flip out? That could be an interesting thing, that they may do. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. I know a lot of the sports type cameras, they don't tend to offer the flip out screens because they can break off. So that could be an interesting thing, but you'll definitely get the new menus and things like that, and a full touch screen with a bit of luck on that one. So I just wanted to share that as an interesting story. I'm going to keep going, and then we'll come back to the chat later. The Sigma 200mm. Now, this is really interesting. So there's rumors going around that there's a 200mm f2.8 FE lens to be released early in 2021. I'm not sure how I feel like that. I mean, I think it'd be great. And let's see, I'm going to say, would you buy it? No, because I wouldn't be able to afford it. No, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a fantastic lens, wouldn't it? I'm going to say yes. I probably won't have the money. Let's see what people are saying. So 57% said yes, they would buy it. 43% said no. I mean, it's going to be a mass honking lens. Let's face it. If you're going to have a 200mm f2, it will be a mass honking lens, but it would be beautiful. Imagine doing portraits with that thing lugging it around. I mean, there's no thing on price yet. They're just saying one of our Sigma sources told us about the new kind of Sigma lens. He said the Sigma f2 development has been approved and we can expect a release as early in the second half of 2021. This lens would obviously be available as a native E-mount option too, along with other full-frame mirrorless versions as well. I'd love to know. Let me know in the chat, live chat, because I'll come back to it. Let me know, would that be something that would interest you? I'd like to try it. I mean, I would love to have a go at it, but it's probably not something that I would buy. But you know, I just thought I'd share that too. There's not much more to say about this yet because it's still just a rumor. Do you think there's a marketplace for it? I mean, I'd love to know as well. Do you think there is a marketplace for this? I'm not sure. Tamron as well, which is a really interesting one, because Tamron, there's a patent now over 135 f2.8. I'm not sure I mean, look, what do you think about the Zeiss? The Zeiss really has never sold that much, has it? I don't think it's ever been a really successful lens at 2.8. Because the thing for me is, if you have a 135 f2.8, you might as well go with a 7E to 200. Or Tamron, you could have the 7E to 180, and then you could use the 135 2.8 during that focal. Yes, look, it's not a prime, so it's probably not going to be quite as good, or as good. But I just don't know if there's a real marketplace for 135 f2.8. I mean, I'll get to try it, and I'd love to have a try of it and see what I think about it. I mean, obviously, it's going to be nice and light, say, compared to the GM version. I mean, you know, it's probably going to be much, much smaller, much, much lighter, just like the Zeiss one is. I mean, there are advantages, I suppose, if you want to keep the weight down and you still love that 135 portrait lens. But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. The other thing too, they're saying here, this is pretty interesting though, a 350mm f4.5 lens designed for mirrorless. That would be great for sports and wildlife. That could be an interesting one, not being a variable aperture lens. It just says here, I spotted a new Tamron patent describing 2 new lens designs for full-frame mirrorless. Tamron is also known for selling their optical designs to Zeiss, because that's the thing. The baddest is basically Tamron lenses. I'm not sure if you know that, but they basically are. So, but they're saying the lens is going to be different from the current baddest 135mm lens. So that's really interesting. So I wonder what they're going to do about it to make it that different. Who knows? I just thought it's an interesting thing to share. Would you guys be more interested in a 350 f4.5, or would you like to say something, get the 135 f2.8? The 2.8, the 135 f2.8 too would be probably much more reasonably priced. If you couldn't afford, say, the GM version, which is not cheap, this would be much more obviously reasonable in cost, and it would be interesting to see how well it performs. I think it probably will perform very, very well. The baddest version is a beautiful lens. I mean, it does give exceptional results. The only thing is it's not a 1.8, but it does give beautiful results. I think I've used it. It focuses very, very well. I don't believe it focused from memory. It doesn't focus like what the Sony does. The Sony GM lens is incredible. The linear focus modus in that lens is nuts. It really is incredibly fast, and it's just, there's a look about it that every time you see it. Someone put a comment the other day when they watched my video that I just did with Anya, and they said, David, I can always tell the 135. Look, every time you post an image that's got that lens, I can always tell, because it does have a certain look about it. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see anyway what they give us with that. I'm going to keep moving on. This is interesting because Sony have said here that they're thinking about bringing out the Lidar autofocus tech on future alpha cameras. So I thought, wow. At the moment, you've got to use something like an RS2 that has that ability built in if you wanted to use manual focusing, and apparently it works very, very well. The iPhone, for instance, has it. The new iPhones have that too, that gives you the ability to autofocus much better in low light. So this could be a technology that they're going to add in the future to enable us to get quicker autofocus and also have autofocus work much better in really low light conditions. So I think this is a pretty exciting rumor, actually, and I really do hope this comes out. Perhaps this could be something that is in like the A9 III. Or it may be the A7 IV if that comes out late next year. It might be something that they're going to sort of build into that. I'm just trying to read here what it says. It's just talking about the iPhone 12. It was talking to one of my friends, an Apple engineer. He said at some point Sony was looking at incorporating, so they're incorporating Apple's A14Z chip that will be used in the upcoming 2021 iPad. So they're saying that they're going to use the Apple A14 chip. He said that Sony is working on adding computational photography features in their upcoming cameras and start using their own LiDAR sensor that they sell to Apple. Oh, okay, so they sell that to Apple. Yep, okay. As they were impressed by how well Apple used it for better AF tracking. One thing he said is that to get maximum performance of the A14Z chip, Sony has to completely rebuild its in-body camera software. I find this very interesting. So who knows? So perhaps they are going to have this strong working relationship with Apple. And I know from the videos that I've seen, and I'll leave these links down below, you can check this out because this is a video showing how that tracking and everything works, and it does really work quite well. It's actually quite an exciting thing to bring on. So for the future, it's looking really good, and I think we're probably going to get that in our Sony cameras. I'll let you know how it works on the Apple because I'll order it at the second I can get the Max, which is the 7th of November. We can pre-order the next Apple iPhone, so I'll be putting an order in for that. A new patent as well. This was interesting that Sony has come up with. It's a Fresnel technology, lens technology. So there's a whole patent here that you can talk about, and this is meant to give you much better. Well, the design, it's saying, allows a construction of lenses of large aperture and short focal length without the mass and volume. So in other words, you can make them smaller. So this is quite an exciting technology as well that Sony are thinking about. A Fresnel lens can be made much thinner than a comparable conventional lens, in some cases taking the form of a flat sheet. I'm just trying to see here too. One of the downsides though is flare artifacts, so they're going to have to try and get around that flare. But a new Sony patent proves that they are all ready to launch such lenses with tech that can suppress the flare issue. So who knows? I mean, again, Sony kicking goals. I mean, they're just, the things that are just coming out is just amazing that they're sort of looking at. FX-6. I'm not sure whether this was released or this was just a sneak peek that was just thrown out. If you are interested on the FS6 Sony camera, it looks like it's going to be 6,000 euros, 7,000 euros with tax. Oh, I've got to do currency conversion. New window. Because I want to see what it is US. Currency converter. United States. Oh, euro I need, don't I? Euro to United States. So what are they saying it was worth? 7,000 with tax. Do I have to put tax in? Well, I'll do it tax anyway. $7,000 is $8,302 United States. So if we take out the tax, if we look at $6,000, it's $7,116. So it looks like for $7,000 United States, it's going to cost you to get, might be a fraction cheaper than that with the conversion. I'm not sure how it works, but it looks like you're going to be able to get this for around about $7,000. Pretty good, actually, for what it is, I think. I mean, they still haven't released everything about this camera yet, but if you did want to go, look, this is really going to be a higher-end A7S III. I mean, that's how you've got to look at it. This is going to give you all the features, your XLR inputs, the ability to connect your hard drives to, things like that. I mean, it's beautiful. If you're into working high-end video, this is going to be an incredible camera because it's basically going to be an A7S III built in with all of these extra options and features. So I think it's probably very, very exciting for Sony that this is going to be coming out. I mean, if I had the money, I'd love to have one of these just to be able to use for when I needed it. But I suppose you've got to be, you've got to have that ability to lug this around and do things like that. Whereas, just picking up something like this is so small and so light and handy. So I suppose you've got to make a decision. But if they price this like that, I think that's very, very reasonable. And I think that's a great price. So I think that will probably sell very, very well indeed. Exciting times for Sony, that's for sure. I'm not sure how I feel about this, though. Sony Japan just announced the ZV-1. It's white. I think it looks awful. Let me know what you think. I don't like it. I think it looks horrible. Having the black screen against the white as well, it just looks odd to me. Having the fluffy little white. I mean, look, Instagrammers may love it. I don't know, but it certainly doesn't appeal to me. But why not? I mean, the thing is, it's there. You don't have to buy the color if you don't like to. But I mean, I'm not a big fan of the white at all, but and I love my ZV-1. Oh, it's actually over here. I love my ZV-1. I use it all the time. But it's another option that's there in case if you wanted to use it. So who cares? I mean, it's white. Are they going to bring out a white handle so everything matches? Who knows? But anyway, it's there. I'm just not wrapped with it, but it doesn't matter. Now, Lightroom 2 have also released now full support for the Sony A7S III, the A7C and the A7S Mark III. Like I said, they haven't added the HEIF support yet, though. I don't know whether, I'm hoping that that's something that they can do. I should test the Apple iPhone and see if the iPhone is supported in HEIF going into Lightroom. I'm not sure it is, but I should try that. I'm hoping eventually they do give that support, but at least now it's fully supported. So it is a fully supported camera now, and the A7C is a fully supported camera too. That was in Lightroom 10 that was released just the other day. So that's good if you are using those two cameras. Let me go here. And lastly, before I come back to the chat, Lightroom has added some really good features. I did sort of show this with Aaron the other day, but this is often a different discussion with different people. So there's some really good improvements in Lightroom, particularly these color grading tools that have now been added inside of Lightroom. This is fantastic if you love grading and things like Final Cut or Premiere and things like that, because they always use these color grading tools, and it can give you that great classic orange and teal look that you see out there. And it's a very, very quick way of split toning and doing things like that. So I think this is really quite exciting, and it's now just another feature that's on the panel on the right-hand side. So I think that's really good, and I haven't used it yet, but I'm dying to have a play around with that. I've just been doing the images of Anya and everything, which didn't have really any correction at all. But once I start doing some editing and stuff, that might be some things that I actually play around with. They're saying they've improved the performance and things like that as well, but I'm just happy to have that. Tethered view for Canon has been now put in, so you can just tether directly now. Hopefully they'll add something like this to Sony. There's a new enhanced zoom that works now. You can sort of see how it's functioning here. It does seem to work much, much better, and I liked it. I just used that the other day, so it does seem to work really cool. You can just draw a box around and zoom like you're sort of seeing here as well, which is nice as well, and just improved performance. There was more updates in Photoshop though. Photoshop had some quite big updates with these things called neural filters and the sky replacement and more. We had a big discussion about this with Aaron the other day. I'm not sure how I feel about some of these things. I think some of them just look awful. You can sort of see here when you're looking at this that it comes into neural filters, and then you'll start to see that they can do things like turn faces and do all, different things like those, switching it there. I mean, it may have a use in some cases, like it even adds teeth if you want to make a fake a smile and stuff like that. Some of the features that I just dread to think what's going to happen and what's going to come out. But look, it's there. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. And if you do want to use it, it's there. I'll have to have a play around with them. Some of the features may be worthwhile to have a look at. But again, as Photoshop is just starting to go more and more and more into the AI now, it also has a sky replacement filter now as well that you can put in, and it comes with 30 skies that are already there. And it's meant to work quite easily. I suppose they're just trying to compete with all these other software that's out there that's doing this sort of stuff now. I very rarely ever change the sky. I do occasionally for a wedding image if the sky is really boring and I want to make an impact to give to the bride. I will change the sky, and I do that, and I always tell the bride that I've done it, and they're usually happy they've done it actually because it's this big impact image. Apart from that, I don't do it. But I haven't got an issue. Remember, I spoke to Aaron about this, and look, art is art. So really, it's totally up to you, but just be honest about it. If you are going to sort of put fake skies in, be honest about it because you may get caught out. And that's something that you probably should do. If you're trying to put, out there that this is your image and you've got this amazing sky and it's not yours, and someone, particularly if you use the 30 that are built into Lightroom, they're all going to look the same. It might be better to be honest with people if you're posting them on Facebook and other areas to say, that it's been edited and the sky has been replaced. Just be honest about it, I think. This is a great feature. It's got much better refined hair and object refine tools now. It's giving you much better options to get hair out of hard backgrounds that were pretty hard before. So it's giving you much better options now, and they sort of show that with the lion through here. And now there's this plugin shop where you can buy your plugins directly through Apple, through Adobe, and they pop in through here. I think it's a pretty good update overall, apart from some of those filters. Maybe just I dread to think what people are going to do with them. But art is art, isn't it? So, it's just the way it is. So let's open up the chat just for a few minutes and we'll go through stuff and see what people are saying. So if you have anything, guys, that you'd like me to answer or anything like that, pop the question down below. Let's have a look. Where were we? I think down here somewhere. Yeah, I was down here. Oh, yeah, there you go. I marked it. Hopefully, the Sony A7 IV will have a bump in resolution. I think it will. I wouldn't be surprised if it's past 30 megapixels, particularly if the A7R IV goes up to 100. I think you'll probably find we may be potentially 30 odd up to 48. It'll be interesting to see what it will be, but there'll definitely be a bump in resolution. If they do potentially put 8K in the A7 IV, and they may, that will then obviously have to be your 48 megapixel. So it'll be interesting to see what they give you in that camera. If you're waiting 12 months to get it too, it might take a lot of what the A7S III has and put into that. Remember, we were shocked when the A7 III came out, because basically the video stuff that it had was better than the A7 II in a lot of respects, apart from real low light. So don't be surprised if Sony really give us incredible features in an A7 IV. I wouldn't be surprised at all. They might just hold back a little bit in the bit depth, something like that, but you could potentially get 8K video in the A7 IV. Phil said, David, which would you choose, Sony 135 or the Sony 7200? I said that before. I'd choose the 135 any day of the week. Nash said, wouldn't it be an R5 because I already have the R4? I'm not sure what that question was about. The A7 IV is meant to come out late next year, Mano. So we've got to wait 12 months at least. A little over 12 months. Axman said he would try it. I think that was talking about that Sigma lens. Hard to say if I'd buy the 200 f2 without any idea of price. My guess is that it will be prohibitive for amateurs. Yeah, it's probably going to be an expensive lens, that's for sure. It's going to be a big honking lens as well. If I bought it, I'd let go of my 135 1.8. You're talking about if you bought the Sigma 200mm. The problem is you're still, and this is the reason why I wouldn't let go of the 135. I had issues when I was taking these shots. Where were we? over here, I think. Just got to find where they are. When I was taking these were with the 135, and I really had to struggle to get back far enough to take them because there was a big bush that was right behind me. In fact, I was pushing into the bush to get them. So, you know, it's a problem. So if you had a 200 mil, it would put it out of the range of a lot of these shots where you just wouldn't have enough room to get them. So I think the 135 is probably as big as you would want to go to use as a portrait lens, really, because of the distance that you've got to go back. In fact, a lot of weddings and stuff like that I'll use the 85, and I use the 85 because I don't have to step back so far from you know, my bride or model or whatever I'm doing. I can get close enough to get like a full body or a head and shoulders without having to step outside the room, because it is a fairly big working distance. Watch the video, you'll see where I'm shooting. You'll see the distance that I have to shoot when I'm shooting the 135, how far away I have to be from Anya using the 135. It is really quite far if you want to get a full body type shot with some you know, scenery in the background. So it's something you do have to consider. So a 200 millimeter, you're going to be way back. And I think it probably wouldn't be workable for most portraits, that's for sure. What are we going? I'm more interested in the 350 4.5 than the 135 2.8. Hero said he'd like the 400 1.8. What else? The 135 would be great for shooting pano landscapes. It would be cool, actually. Using Apple's chip and Sony Lidar sensor in the future, alpha cameras could really be fantastic. The Apple chips also use minimal power. That's true, they do, and that's one of the great things about those Apple chips. They are very good with power. Just got my A7S III a few days ago. I'm blown away. I know, how good is it? The only fault I can really say at this stage is it uses more battery. It's probably be about double to what I used to use. So you have to, if you used to use one battery, you probably will use two. But with the processor that's in there and the amount of work that it's doing, you have to expect that. So I suppose that's really, for me, the only downer is that it's definitely uses more batteries. Raymond said, hey there, David. Greetings, team. Question for you, David. That top handle that you bought, does that start-stop work only for video, or can it be used for stills too? I'm not sure. I'll get it. Hang on, stay there. So this is the handle that we're talking about. It's got the record button on the top. So let me see. Now, let me just see if I can plug it in. Oops. Which one does it go in? All right, so let me see. So at the moment I'm in video. Oh, I've probably got to turn something on. I might have to record remote recording. Yeah, I've got to change the settings because it's only doing, it's changing peaking at the moment. I'll have to change the settings. It's not working properly. I'll have to change that. I'll have to let you know. I'll leave it here and I'll test it in a few minutes because it's actually doing, it's remapped to a different key at the moment. It's turning peaking display on and off. Well, let me just go to stills and I'll have a look and just see what this does. See if it takes a shot. Oh, that's interesting. It's recording there though. No, if I'm in at the moment, I can tell you if I'm in manual at the moment, which is your photography mode, it's just starting recording. I'd have to play around with it, but it looks like it just does your recording. I'll have to let you know. I'll have to play around with it. I do like it though. Like, it's actually a nice handle. It should face it backwards the other way though. I'll have to play around with it and let you know. But it was doing, I think it's mapped to something else in video because it was changing the peaking. So I'll have to have a look. When I was in photography mode, it just starts recording video. So perhaps it only works for video. Where were we? I'm really surprised that they didn't put the A7R5 list with the A7S III high-res EVF. Yeah, the EVF is incredible. I think you'll probably find that in the higher-ended Sony cameras. An A7R5 would have it now, I would think. The A7R4, the A7 IV may not. The A7 IV might just have what's now in the A7R4. And I must say, your YouTube video with that young lady and the photos from the A7S, I was blown away from so many of those pictures, especially the ones using the 135. I'm so glad to own it too. Thank you, Raymond. Yeah, it's beautiful, that lens. It really is. What happened to global shutter? Well, it's probably still going to come because there is advantages with having it, but the A7S is now so good that rolling shutter has basically been eliminated. There's really no rolling shutter in the A7S III at all because the processor now is so fast. But there is other benefits to having it. I mean, the rolling shutter would be non-existent at all. And there's also benefits for things like shutter. There's no really shutter speed problems that you get with your normal cameras. So it's probably still going to come somewhere down the line. Anyone do their own printing? Just bought a Canon Pro. That's fantastic. No, I don't. I just send mine off, but it would be fun. Matthew said, I use the Pixma Pro 100 for printing. Matthew also said, I just got my Sony A7S III. It's amazing so far. I love it. Ryan said, the Sigma 105 1.4 Art is the sweet spot for portraiture, my favourite lens. Yeah, the Sigma 105 is great. I use that. I lent that for a few weeks actually, and I loved using it. It was beautiful. I probably still prefer the 135, but yeah. But they're close. They're really good. The advantage with the Sigma 105 is you can get closer. That's one really good advantage with that. And you've got the 1.4 aperture as well. That new Free Fly camera has a global shutter. First one I know of, but 10 gram. Wow, that's a lot of green. Yep, certainly is. What else? Leslie said, I was talking to someone else. Have you shot with a 70-200 GM? Yes, I have. Yep. I loved it. It was a great lens, but I just think it needs to be updated now. It needs to be a version 2. Leslie said, I really like mine a lot. Between the 100 to 400, I'm covered from 24 to 400 in just 2 lenses. At 2.8 would be nice, but I shoot most of the landscape, so it is not a deal breaker. Matthew said, not yet. I'm more interested in the camera's video capabilities. Not sure what that was about. Axman said, I love the collaboration of Apple and Sony. Can you imagine if Apple would redesign the menu system as well? Yeah, I know. It would be amazing. The menu system is really good, though, now in the Sony A7S III. Now that I'm used to it, I really like it. It's quite funny when you go back to the old menu system. It's just not as good. So I do actually really like the new menu system. I think they've done a pretty good job with it, really. It's just logical, and it's easy to find what you need without hunting through all different menus. I find now I can get through and get to what I need really quickly with the A7S III. Tony said the 70-200 GM is the best lens I've ever used to date. Yeah, the 135 is my favourite lens I've ever had. I used to own that lens. I still prefer the Sigma 105 f1.4. Tony said, just heard the A7S IV is coming out soon. 8K, 1000 frames per second. 35 1.8, 85 1.8, and the 135 GM works very well for portraits and shooting weddings. Yeah, that's a great combination. You just need something a little bit wider. That's why I like the 24. And I do carry around the 16 to 35 at weddings as well. And I've also carried around the 10 to 18, the APS-C lens, because you can use that from 12 to 16 millimeter. And it's quite good. So if I need something that's really wide, I use the 12 to 18. Looks like your A7S III is now obsolete. Have you guys stay safe and thumbs up? Oh, yeah. Thank you for that, Leslie. And that's about it. So thank you so much, everyone. I've really enjoyed the chat today. There's been stacks of little news bulletins that we've gone through as well. Please, if you can, watch the video that I've just posted with the Anya shoot. I'd love you, tell me what you think about it. Like I said, there's no music and stuff like that. It's more just me going through a shoot with her. It's a 22-minute long video, and I talk about, what I wanted to do and things like that, and which location we've gone and what lenses I'm using and all those sort of things. So please check that out if you haven't watched that as well. Love it if you could give me a thumbs up too, because like I said, I am unsponsored. It's just me, guys, doing this. So I would appreciate if you could give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, obviously subscribe as well. Apart from that, everyone, I'll see you in some videos next week. I have got some really cool things coming in the coming days. I've still got to test out this microphone. Like I said, I've just got this one. The new Sony one. So I've still got to test this one out. I'm looking forward to giving this a go. From what I've been told, it's really good. So I'll let you know how that is. I just wish it would work. I know it'll work in analog mode, but I wish it would work in digital on the ZV-1. I think Sony should do an upgrade in firmware or something. But I think it has the electronic points. I'm not sure. So stay tuned for that. But I've also got some other great things coming that I can't talk about yet, actually, because they're sort of secret. Raymond also said 7 million views. Huge congrats. Thank you so much, Raymond. I know I was wrapped. I got that notification the other day that I just got past 7 million views. So that was terrific as well. So apart from that, the next live show will probably be on Tuesday US time, Wednesday Australian time with Aaron. And we'll see you all in the next video. I'll just play the intro again and then I'll click off. Catch you guys. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great weekend and go the Cats tonight.